I'm live. I'm live. Welcome. I actually didn't think I'd be here 2 days in a row, but I thought I would just do a quickie here on the last day of the month. And if you're going to hire subcontractors, you need to make sure that you, if you're here in the States, do not get in trouble for misclassification. I didn't even put a mic on. I just went live, so hopefully you guys can just hear me um, pretty loud and clear. And basically, someone hired in a sub, and the sub had something go wrong with their equipment, and it threw the sub off so much that she didn't complete her job. And there was a couple of things that went down with that. So I've learned over the years that if you're still out working on in the field, thankfully I'm not, but if you still are, that's totally okay. You always keep an extra vacuum in your car when you're doing one-time cleanings, and the reason for that is because things break. Things like your subs vacuum break, so you could either rent them the vacuum, you can just let them borrow the vacuum so they can complete the job. You certainly don't want to get upset. Accidents happen, equipment breaks. People don't have a lot of really good coping skills right now. So I want to make sure that you all benefit from this person's experience. So she hired her to do a certain section of the house, which is totally on key for a sub, but she paid the sub before the work was walked through. So anytime you are doing a one-time cleaning, where you save face and where it saves you is that you require a walkthrough by either yourself, or if you're dealing with a customer or a real estate agent or proxy, whoever it is, a fresh set of eyes looks over the cleaning job that was done. Because by the end of the day, the cleaning tech is pooped out. They're not seeing the same things they saw when they first walked in. They're tired and they want to go home. So, in order for her not to run into the same type of situation, I'm checking my notes. That she should not have paid. She paid the cleaning tech or the sub that she hired in to help her with this job, and then she walked upstairs to look at the work, and the work was subpar. So to prevent that from happening for next time, she should not pay the sub until that she does a walkthrough. It's just part of the protocol. Like I would expect someone, if I was still out cleaning, I would expect someone to walk the job for me because I'm not seeing the same things I saw 8 hours ago. And she did interview this sub. I'm not sure what the interview entailed. Usually subs are just hired in. There's no interview. They're just hired in to do the job and then they're gone. There's not like, there's some basic questions you want to ask, like how long have you been cleaning? Do you have, obviously you want to know if they're going to bring their own gear, that they have a driver's license, basic stuff for any part-time job for a one-time thing. And then she did ask the sub if she had a working vacuum, and the sub said yes. But like I said, things break. So I want to make sure that if you are going to go through this situation yourself, that you always keep an extra vacuum. It's just what I've learned to do over the years. So she asked her about the vacuum and the supplies, and then she spoke to and agreed to complete the rest of the job. And then so she couldn't finish the floors because she didn't have a vacuum. And when the sub had asked, hey, can I use your vacuum? She said no. So she ended up taking money away from the sub because her equipment failed. And the sub should probably also keep an extra vacuum. So there's a lot of dynamics, a learning curve for that. So she paid her. And then after going upstairs, I found that she had not completed the bathrooms or the baseboards in the one room that were requested. I'm just so disappointed. So carrying extra equipment, even for the sub, the cleaning tech should also carry extra equipment in case something breaks, because things do break. There's nothing worse than forgetting your porta-vac or your backpack back, or your backpack vac breaks because someone borrowed it and got something stuck in it. It's always good to have a backup when you're doing one-time cleanings and being prepared, right? So I kind of explained that sometimes things happened, and that she could have let her rent it from her or just borrowed it flat out. I guess she maybe had a really expensive vacuum. Sorry, it's my dog. So there's that. And then people can start to panic when things go wrong. Not everybody has good coping skills. They're, there to do something, and then things go wrong, and then it becomes like a series of events, right? And it's always good to do a walkthrough before payment is rendered. Oh my gosh. I don't know. I don't know what that was. That scared me. And then it sounds like maybe she got a cleaning tech that might have been a little bit ADD. It could be a lot of reasons on why things didn't work out versus why they should and should not have. Hindsight's always 2020. And then someone else chimed in about a working interview. This is where the quandary actually, or the quagmire really comes in. So if you are doing a working interview, you're not hiring a 1099 subcontractor. You're hiring an actual employee. What you can, the workaround for that, and obviously you need to check your state, so because I don't want to get anyone in trouble for misclassification, is you could hire them for an hour to determine if they've got what it takes. And then if it doesn't work out, then you make sure that you have backup labor, or that you have enough time in your day to help finish the job should you need to do it yourself. Or you can go on Facebook and say, hey, I'm looking for an emergency cleaner. Can you come over and help me out? And usually you can tell within an hour if someone is good at cleaning or not. Not everyone is good cleaning, as we all know. So I can't tell you how many times homeowners are like, it's not that dirty. And you're like, ah, right? So you couldn't have a working interview, but you could hire them and pay them for an hour. And you could say up front, hey, just let you know, I'm going to give you an hour to prove to me that you can do your job. You could do it that way. And it's a gray area. So make sure that you are following what the protocols are for the area that you're operating out of. Usually when you hire people, it's cut and dry. They either can clean or they cannot clean. And you can tell, right? If they can't clean. And usually, things happen. There's a lot of equipment breaks. And then if you had W-2s, you could definitely do a working interview. Done thousands of them over the years. You could hire in someone and then pay them cash at the end of the day. No harm, no foul. But you could do a working interview with a potential W-2. It gets into the gray, mucky area where the yucky yuck is if you do it for an actual sub. So working interviews are great. I really like them. It shows if they're interested in the job and they physically can keep up. But you technically can't do it with a sub, a 1099. What else was there that I wanted to cover? So yes, subs should know their job. They get hired in to work specific parts of the house if you are working as a team. So maybe, and you're still on the job working with your team. Maybe you had someone call out sick and you needed a third person and you only have two, you and her. And then so the third person comes in. So you want to be very specific on what that sub does, just like with your employee. They're going to do the top layer of the house, and they're going to do all of the baseboards, all of the wet wiping, and they're going to do the bathroom upstairs. And then your employee is going to do the middle level, the split level, and they're going to start in the kitchen. And then maybe you start on the bottom, but it's specific so that you're not overstepping on what they were hired to do. And then make sure that you give them a checklist. Sometimes digital checklists, not everyone's technologically savvy, believe it, in 2025. So make sure that you have a paper checklist. And if you don't have a paper checklist printed out, you could actually handwrite it out and hand it to them and say, okay, this is what I'm hiring you to do. So please make sure you do it. So there's a lot of variances in that, but I just want to make sure that no one gets in trouble for misclassification, especially with a working interview, and especially if you're only hiring 1099s. Any questions, reach out.